character Jay a year later, the damage was done. Anger over its passage formed the nucleus for the cause that would lead to the American Revolutionary War. On the 23rd of March, pardon me, the 23rd of March in 1839, in abbreviated slang, as much that deliberately misspells words the way kids do today in text messages, in an article in the Boston Morning Post, it published the term OK for all, O-L-L, correct. For reasons still not understood, the abbreviation took hold. Nevertheless, today, OK is understood in every country on the earth to mean it's all right. You can say any place and they know what you mean. On the 24th of March in 1989, in what would turn into both an environmental and a public relations disaster, the petroleum tanker Exxon Valdez ran aground in Prince William Sound, Alaska, spilling some 200,000 gallons of crude oil that affected more than 100 miles of coastline. Birthdays in the coming week, starting tomorrow, Bruce Willis, the actor, turns 66. Also tomorrow, actress Glenn Close turns 74. On Sunday, Matthew Broderick turns 59. Captain Kirk, William Shatner, turns 90 on Monday. And fashion designer Tommy Hilfiger turns 70 on Wednesday. And that's this week in history.
Thank you so much, Paul. That's always so much fun. I just love this week in history. I mean, we don't take the time to look back on what happened years before, but it's always a lot of fun to hear about it. Okay, now then, Dixie Walker, do you mind joining me up here to inform our members about some exciting things that are going to be forthcoming? Yeah, she's cute.
There's nothing and smile, doesn't she? Okay, so we're working real hard. It's so nice seeing all these people here.
It is.
Particularly those that haven't been here in a while. Anyway, that's not why I'm up here, but we're trying real hard to have some monthly gatherings so that we can bring our spousal units and they can all get to know each other also. And then we're also planning a family night where you can bring your kiddos and your dogs if you want to. So what we're doing is we're looking at a date in April, possibly mid-April or whatever. We had something scheduled, but we're going to have to probably move it to a Tuesday night, but that's still tentative. But then so we'll let you know more about that. That's going to be towards the end of April if we can pull that together. And it's amazing, all these restaurants are cram-packed full of people. It's not easy finding a place for 30, 40, 50 people to get together. But anyway, so the other thing we're going to do is May 27th is going to be our family night. It's going to be at True Vine Brewery. We've got covered area, and this is going to be our family night, so you can bring your kiddos if you have kiddos. They also have a dog park out there, so if you want to bring your dog and so forth to introduce them to the group, you can do that. And we've got the covered area. It's going to be reserved. It'll be Dutch treats, so they have really some pretty fantastic pizza out there. And I don't know if they have anything else to eat other than that, but
They have beer.
oh, I missed you. They do have beer. And they also have some wine. So they also have non-alcoholic beverages, I'm sure, like water. But anyway, so that's what's going on. So March the 27th, that's going to be the Thursday prior to Memorial Day weekend.
Woo! Thank you, Dixie. So 27th on your calendar, and invite anybody that you'd like to come meet your Rotary friends, and it'll be fun. It'll be just an opportunity for everybody to actually visit and get to know one another better. And we'd love to see you there, and we'd love to see your friends and guests there too. So it'll be a great social. Okay, dun, 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 dun. Judge Ken Starr is going to be here on May the 27th. If you remember last year, he came and just did, I mean, he could have talked all afternoon and never have bored us. He was so knowledgeable and with so much life experience, and the Bill Clinton fiasco and all that, and he actually brought a book that he had written, and I've read it, I think, almost twice. It was really interesting read. But anyway, he's gonna be here on the 27th, and that's another occasion for you to bring guests. And yes, Dion.
He's going to be speaking on his new book about the threats to American civil justice.
Okay, did you all hear that? He's got a new book about the threats to American civil justice, which should be really phenomenal. So he's gonna be here. He's just such an intelligent, knowledgeable, experienced person. And it would be a shame for you not to be here and for you to invite any of your friends that you think would be entertained, and I can't imagine anybody that wouldn't. So please put that on your agenda and sign up, because we're going to have, if you remember last year, we had almost standing room only in both of these rooms. So you can also buy a table for 8 or 10. Holly, where are you?
It's right here.
8 or 10.
8.
A table for 8, if you'd like to invite 8 friends or 7 friends or however many, and that'd be a nice way to support the club and introduce people to our Rotary Club. So anyway, got that on your calendar, I hope.
What's the date of True What's the
Same
date?
day.
Same day.
Same day.
Same day. We're hoping Ken will join us at True-Bine.
That's the goal.
He and his wife, which would really make it special. So the 27th of May, May the 27th, he'll be here at the club at noon, and then we'll have our Rotary Social at 5:30 at True-Bine, and it'll be wonderful. It'll be a day to remember for sure. Okay, and then everybody knows what's happening June the 5th. Raise your hand if you don't know what's happening June the 5th. Okay, it's our centennial celebration, finally, right here in Holly Tree. It should have been last year during DM's 100th year presidency, but because of COVID, we were not able to have it. This year, we're having it on June the 5th. So be sure to put that on your calendar, because that's going to be another awesome event. We're really going to have a pretty exciting summer. President of UT Tyler will be here next week as our speaker, and he's always excellent. And now, if our President-elect Bill Pascal will come forward, he'll introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you. Out here. By the way, Jack, Emmett, it is good to see you guys. I'll mention the New London explosion. Back in that day, natural gas didn't smell. There was no smell to it at all. And because of that incident, if you smell natural gas or you smell propane, it's because of that. Now, the gas, they add a substance, I forget what it is, but that's what makes natural gas and propane smell bad. They just call it stink in the business. I forget the name of it. Anyhow, before this thing goes downhill any further, I'll introduce today's guest. Gotten to know Larry. We've done a little business together, but this is the first time that I've ever laid eyes on the guy. We started talking about business and things like that, and just hit it off over the phone. He's always been just a swell guy to live with, but he told me that he is a law enforcement victim liaison for the crisis response ministry. Now, when you're a first responder, you see some pretty bad stuff out there. And some folks just, they have a problem dealing with it. So Larry works with types and with others as well. But Crisis, non-profit organization in the state of Texas. They're a non-denominational, faith-based Christian ministry whose mission is providing emotional and spiritual care to individuals and family in crisis. Their guiding philosophy is to minister to people out of compassion, provide a genuine demonstration of God's love and compassion. And Larry Hunt, please welcome him. It's good to see you, Larry.
you, Bill, for that gracious introduction. I just want you to know it's a delight for me to be here today. Not only was it great food, I did enjoy the music as well. My mother's maiden name is Scully, if that tells you anything about Irish music. It was good too to reminisce a little bit with some of these fellows over here at the table. Got to thinking about past family member John Bass. He's my second cousin, so you may know him. I've had some experiences with him. It's just good to be here. And the way I want to categorize, I guess you'd say, or organize my thoughts so that you can kind of follow along, I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience, who I am, where I come from, because actually I had no desire whatsoever to be involved in crisis response ministry. I think it turned out to be somewhat of a divine appointment. And so I speak to you about where I come from in order to lay a good foundation to understand what crisis response ministry is about. Okay? So a little bit about myself. Been married for 38 years to wonderful wife, Pamela. She is the manager for Dr. Hope Short's office over here, family practice and med spa. And just I'm telling you, I married up. I'm just telling you, I married up. She's a delight. Got to bless her with the, I don't know if any of you listen to Alistair Begg on the radio. He's a great Bible teacher. And so I just got to book her on a last cruise to go off with spiritual retreat, with her. The reason why we have such a harmonious relationship, I think, is because of what happened in both of our lives. After that, I did a graduate degree here at UT. Communications and then public administration, focusing on administrative law. Love to do investigative work, fraud examination work. But how I got to crisis response ministry is through years of experience in law enforcement. I started my law enforcement career out in the Pecos area. I don't know if you know where that is. Reeves County. It's the first large county before you get to El Paso. Got exposed to a lot. I worked a Border Star program out there with Department of Public Safety. Was exposed to a lot of things. That's the first time I'd ever seen cartel activity that ended up in decapitation. Sorry to say that. That's a little bit startling. Saw the most money I'd ever seen at one time in one car too. We had a 1998 Mercedes that had 1.57 million in it that was transported. I was kind of taken back by that a little bit. And so you get exposed to a lot of different things in your law enforcement career. Moved forward, I got back over here towards East Texas, worked up near Dallas, and got exposed to a lot there. I think of just different things that have taken place in my life that, and I'm going to mention several because there's something that's called stacking that people tend to do that ends up coming back and taking its toll on a person's life. That's what opened up a whole new world that I didn't know existed, and why I got involved in crisis response ministry. So when you go through different experiences in your life, and you just kind of shut it down and press it in and keep going, things tend to catch up with you a little bit later. One of the things that's profound in my memory is stopping a guy one time, and I knew that he had been inebriated because he couldn't maintain his lane. You know what I mean? And sure enough, when I pulled him over, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I see him put his foot on the brake, and I'm like, don't. And sure enough, he takes off. And he goes down all the way to the river bottom, and we're in pursuit, and he jumps out screaming, shoot me, and I won't say the other names that he called me. Very pleasant. So you get 16 minutes on the side of the road with a guy trying to do suicide by cop, and charging you, trying to make you kill him. And it gets your attention. So you have events like that take place. I mean, law enforcement is very to boredom interrupted by sheer terror, if you will. So I could share several stories with you along the way that are just might be a little distasteful to do that. But the one thing that got my attention the most, that started the bridge into crisis response ministry, I had 3 what we call critical incidents. The first one, crash. There was a person that was fleeing and traveling at a very high rate of speed and T-bones me. I mean, right side door. And so the door ends up on the right side of my steering wheel. And it's amazing what your mind does at that point. You just get zoned in and you respond just an amazing way. And we'll get into somehow the mind takes care of it. One of the things that happened then is immediately I just got on the phone, and got on the radio and just requested, backup. It was calm, cool, collected. They had no idea, sir. And so that was, there's a lot more to that story, but I won't bug you with the details on that. But after that, just a few days, I came down with an infection, and it was from the wreck. And it got in my bloodstream. And when I got to the ER, they informed me that you nearly passed away. I know about that. I felt really bad. It was, I could tell I was really, really in not good shape. And as if that wasn't bad enough, I finally get over that. 10 days in Dallas. It was a great situation. And so and heard a call on the radio that there was a situation with an ambulance and an irate individual. And I'm like, well, if he doesn't want to get treated, he can just sign that he doesn't want to get treated, and this should not even be something that's being called in on. What's going on here? And so there was a trooper that I was talking to, and he said, hey, I will go down with this deputy and just make sure nothing goes really, really bad. Okay? I said, great, thank you. I'll keep working on this. I'll monitor, see what's going on. Well, as I'm monitoring, I'm realizing there's a lot more chatter going back and forth. So I thought, I'm going to start easing that way. And about 2 minutes into my drive, I hear shots fired. And so then I'm wide open. I've got to get there. This is May 15th, 2019, Wednesday night, 12:07 a.m. It's funny how all those details stick with you. I get on scene, they're just setting up. I can hear continual shots being fired inside the house. And first name of the trooper, Drew. I said, Drew, she's over on that side. You're going to take down lights in the front. I'm going to go through the woods around back. We got to get some kind of perimeter set up. We got to come up, and I'm going to see if I can get up close. So I go down through the woods. I'm easing up. I'm thinking, these shots are so loud. It's just stunning. And as I'm coming up, I could tell there was one light in the back, and I could see figures, but I couldn't tell what was going on. And all of a sudden, this guy turned, and I think it was my radio that gave me away. There's a little blue light on there, and there's a red light. You've got a recording device going on. And he turned and called me a very unsavory name. I thought, I don't even know you. What are you calling me that for? But he started shooting at me. And so I'm like, I'm taking fire. This side of the house, so that my companion could help me out. And I could see a figure in the dark, and I could see him raise up and pointing at me, and then I could see the flash, and I could hear things hitting all around my head. And he's just shooting in the dark. He knew where I was, but he couldn't get a good beat on me. And never forget that image. And he started coming at me, and I want to say it, but I don't want to get too graphic. He used a 12-gauge shotgun on the fellow. There was 3 of us standing in line, about between 35, 40 feet. 1, 2, 3. He shoots the middle guy with 12 gauge. It's just quiet I'm realizing the only person that I can see now is the guy that got shot. He's not the one shooting at me, so I have no idea what the shooter is. So then I'm moving back around. I get back up to the trooper and I'm like, man, were your shots true? He says, I don't know. So we still have active shooter situation going. Help starts arriving at that point. And I had a guy come, he said, we gotta rescue this guy. I said, I'll drive my truck. So you've got 20 feet from the back of the house, you got a guy laying there trying to get up, yelling, help, help. And he said, can you drive? I said, yes, sir. And so we got some people, they are, I drive down there. And I think that's the point that really hit home with me. Because when I drive down there, of course I did put the seat back, but he's already shot through windshields. So I know, here we go. I thought about my wife, I thought about my 3 daughters. Because I thought if I don't make it, she's gonna know I made a choice to do that. That still gets to me to this day. And we drove the guy out, he passed away. We had 2 killed, 1 critical in that incident. And so Texas Rangers investigate the case. You know, they say, hey, do you need to go talk to somebody? And I'm like, no, the guy was on methamphetamines and he was killing people and we did what we had to do. It's not a tasteful thing, but we did what we had to do. Next case, you know, right? And so that's what you do in law enforcement. It's just like the guy that was suicide by cop. I couldn't wait to get to the next case, you know? And so I'm rocking along, and here's where I started learning about a whole new world and why I'm in crisis response ministry. I started having night sweats. I would just soak my shirt that I was sleeping in every single night. I'm like, what am I doing? You know? And then there were some dreams, and then all of a sudden I wasn't feeling well. And my blood pressure is usually, you know, 120 over 72 or whatever, because working out, and I'm thinking, you know, cardio's king, I'm gonna be healthy. Well, it was 199 over, you know, 101 or something like that. It was like, and I'm like, that is so not good. Something's going on. And so then I'm sitting in a ward off the floor. I'm okay. You know, oh, you're great, you're going to the ER. You know, so I go to the emergency room. And I started realizing something wrong because I was working another case, and we took it to the CAC, which is Children's Advocacy Center. We were doing a forensic interview. So I went to talk to the counselor there. I said, do you think I need to go talk to somebody? Oh, yeah, I think so. And I went and talked to a counselor, and basically they said, it's like your accelerator pedal gets stuck. And if you don't unstuck it, so to speak, you're not going to be with us. And I'm like, really? I said, that's pretty blunt. She said, I'm serious. I said, yes. So I'm like, sabbatical. Now we're time, you know, we're at that point. And as God would have it, I met this guy named Jim McKee, and we did some undergraduate work together years ago in Dallas, Crystal College, and got to talking and really felt I learned the book that says the body keeps the score. Okay? It doesn't matter what you think in your mind. Your body's gonna tell you when enough is enough. And that's what we're learning. There's a whole new world out there. And we could go into the science part of it, but I don't think we have time in our gathering today. But one of the things that maybe gives an example of this is later on, I took my wife to see the movie 1917. I don't know if y'all seen that. And there's a little scene in there, and this guy behind, I think it was in France, and there were some German officers, and you could see the shadowy figure. He comes, and he raises up in the dark, and he shoots. My wife looked at me and looked at me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's a movie." Shh. You know, right. Well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm laying there in bed and all of a sudden, I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. What is going on? I sit here in the living room the rest of the night, and then I get up and go to work. And I'm like, wow, you know. I just recently watched that movie again just to see if it would kind of, trigger some things. I only saw one shot the first time in the movie. He shoots like 4 times. So the second thing I remember, wow, I missed all that the first time through. But that's part of how the mind really tries to protect you, okay? So if you'll look at your handout, I give you a handout when it matters the most. And it gives you a little bit of an idea of what we do. Because crisis response ministry, we address the practical, emotional, spiritual needs of victims of crime and disaster. So we work disaster. We also work, and since I'm the law enforcement liaison, I focus primarily on victims of violent crime. So I go out on scene with local, state, and federal agencies, and when things go south, and try to help out and help mitigate the situation, okay? That may be a crisis. Well, what we do is we really approach on scene either the victims, if they survived, you can't help somebody that didn't survive, or the witnesses, which are secondary victims, but especially I have a heart for law enforcement and first responders because of the continual exposure to these kind of things. And the stacking really is an issue because, I mean, I've worked stuff that's just pressure, stress, I mean, I've had people, they're gonna find you in a dry creek bed, you need to leave it alone. Oh, wow, I'm onto something, and so you keep going. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of crime that goes on. Cases of Colombians shipping multi-ton shipments of cocaine in our area, really. Then being connected with a mosque in Urban. Maybe I should be showing details about it. But then finding record labels where they're laundering money through that. But then finding out they're associated with the Holy Land Foundation trial. And then when you get into the investigation of it, you got federal guys that don't want you to be part of it. And you're going, why not? We got to get this taken care of. And you find out there were 8 unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation trial. 2 of them happened to be in a certain president's administration. And then you go all the way up to helping or getting help from feds in Washington, and then they tell you to stand down. It's like, wow. When you get involved in cases like that, they're huge, and there's so much more. I mean, we're looking at some things still that was guy owns sex industries in Dallas, and then it's connected to Las Vegas, and it's connected to Armsville and through Saudi Arabia. All those things, pressure, stress, over a period of time, it takes a toll. And so, but it also takes a toll immediately event, because you don't get over that. You take it with you. And your body can only take so much. So there's a huge need that I think is very much not fully understood, but becoming more understood. Our organization here, we've been working on this for 5 years and developing just behind the scenes, not trying to be up front. And we've got a North Dallas chapter. We've got East Texas chapter, which is home base here in Mason Tyler. And then we just opened up Texoma and then an El Paso chapter. And so it's just exploded. There's opportunity to be involved. If you want to be involved and volunteer opportunities, or just to be informed, you can go to our website as well and check that out. But there's just a lot of need, and in this climate, I think there's going to be a whole lot more need. I know that yesterday, I believe it was, we caught 3 people from England that were terrorists. You know? In my time out there, we had 6 on terrorist watch list. So, 3 yesterday. So things are definitely increasing. But you can see victims of crime disaster, the people that we go after trying to help. You can see types of incidents listed out there. But there's those signs of acute stress that you start, that's when your body's trying to speak to you and say, hey, get some help. And I hope that gives you a little bit of understanding too of what officers deal with and why sometimes they just get to the point where they make a wrong decision, they stress out. And it affects your judgment. But you can see meeting needs, we've got referral to appropriate resources, we're connected to a lot of different resources. 24/7 on-scene crisis response. We have a hotline set up and we give cards out where if things go bad, they can call us and we'll obviously come out with law enforcement. One-on-one group services, crime victim compensation. We get that to help people. Critical incident debriefing. Sometimes people have a hard time processing what they've seen. And so we do what we call CISM, critical incident stress management, and get in the group situation and try to help people get on the road to processing. It's just, you don't get there overnight, so you don't get through with it overnight. But there's a big need in there. Keep stress counseling, court appointments, emergency sheltering, and just do everything we can to help facilitate a healthy lifestyle, and get back because it really affects you. So I want to kind of narrow it down and see if there's any questions that you have. Yes, sir.
Do the services extend to service members that have maybe gone through similar incidents overseas?
Yes, we focus on violent crime, but we're in the process of helping some people now. I mean, there's ways to get that application as well. We're some of those guys love jiu-jitsu, so we're thinking that we'll get therapy for them, and support. Yes. So we have done some things.
Another question is, and this is pretty niche, but it's on my mind because my wife works a lot with the homeless community in Tyler, and so is there? She's run into several veterans that are on the street, largely because of PTSD and being incapable of integrating back in.
Yes.
So are there services that kind of intersect with that?
Yeah, we have to do a lot of referral because we are what's called VOCA funded, okay? And our goal is obviously not to depend upon VOCA funding, and so we have more leeway in what we do. But, there are guidelines that it's crime victims that we focus on, but we're not just going to say, no, we can't help you and turn you away. We're going to refer you to other sources. We'll help facilitate anything we can to get people back on the feet. Thanks, sir. I mean, what they vote for. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Larry. Of course, we work closely with Jim McKee from Serpro. He called us numerous times, sadly, but we've taken care of them. So I wanted to just say they're awesome at what they do. I wanted to ask about the sex trafficking that's going on. Are y'all seeing, of course, we know it's here, but are you seeing an influx as far as, that's what I want to say.
Wow, I can address that whole issue a whole lot more, because I've worked a lot with the sex trafficking stuff, not by choice. I was on board of directors for an organization that, believe it or not, focused on boys that are trafficked. And you don't even think of that taking place. The way I got into that Colombian thing, I was working in sex trafficking. It was local, and then this guy in Dallas says, "Is it cartel related?" I'm like, "No, but why do you ask?" And then it took me about 2 hours to find a place he was looking for in his trafficking. This other one about mentioning the businesses, and that's still going on right now. It's sex trafficking monies that are used to fund arms dealing. And it has gotten to a critical point where they say, don't look at it anymore because they're not looking for you. they're gonna know you're looking at this. Just, I mean, it's, you know, so yes, that is blowing up right now.
We're having, I've got a program scheduled later on, this year about human trafficking and sex trafficking. That's going on around here. I-20 is just a huge core.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even down to the local level, you know, I went into my DA's office and said, we need to set up a little, trap here, because, you know, they're advertising and they're in this little community that we're doing. You know, so, yes, sir. Keep on.
To what degree, I understand, I think Sam here realized, to what degree do you see law enforcement officers caught between the criminals on one side and the governments we work for on the other?
That is a super good question. Boy, I want an hour. And the reason why I want an hour, because some of my background, I've got a daughter that was an Apache helicopter pilot. And that after she got through that, she went into intelligence. And so I have been exposed to some of that. Even from a local level, when you arrest somebody and you put them in jail for continuous aggravated sexual assault of a child, and then you turn around it out and they flee to Mexico, you wonder what in the world is going on. It didn't cost them a dime to get out, and that's, you know, felony one, and it's children. You know, I see so much corruption. I wish I could tell you some of the things that happened, because of the government, and I'm just gonna expose myself a little bit here. There's a problem. There's a serious problem with corruption. I've had people at my house and had people, and I've worked with a lot of guys at an Underground Railroad. I don't know if you're all familiar with them. They've helped me out, but have people at my house to keep them safe from government officials when they're nothing but true. And then try to get them to a safe house out in West Texas that's run by these former federal agents that have, you know, I mean, they've got the bigwigs out there on compounds, you know, and can get them there, and then to see them diverted and go back to Fort Campbell, and then all kinds of stuff. I know that vague generalities, we have problems. Corruption is paramount. I'm in panic stage. I don't know how to say that without giving specifics that I probably shouldn't give. But we're in trouble. We're in deep trouble. It's burdensome. See what you got going on. Yes, sir.
Did they diagnose you as PTSD?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right, yes, ma'am.
It doesn't know why.
How it goes away. You know, you learn to deal with things. Right. Right. Yes, ma'am. I will not hurt you, I promise. Yes. They were in El Paso. They came across El Paso. Right. Yes, sir.
How do you relate the border situation with your amount of work that creates for you?
I look at it as an assault on American values. That's where I'm at with it. You know. So, I mean.
We need hours, okay?
And I know we're, you know, I'm not gonna do
No, you didn't. Any more questions?
Let me give one positive comment, something on the positive. Our Rotary Club is helping to take care of drug addicted people.
Yes.
And there is a sex traffic home here that we have on schedule to fix their teeth down in Bethesda. And this Rotary Club is helping to pay for it.
Okay, you want to give Larry the community? I'm with Michelle, just another hour, and I might be getting my fill out. It's just so fascinating and eye-opening. And we really thank you for your time today. It means a lot to us. And we've made a donation to the Literacy Council in your name.
Thank
So thank you again, Larry. That was okay, and now it's time for the Ace Diamonds drawing, and we have winners.
We have 13 cards, and 3 cards.
Wow.
Good day to come back.
How about the last 2 of us?
702.
Anybody?
Who's got 702?
702.
It is her. That's true.
Are you sure?
Check it out.
Jennifer, you good? I feel it. Don't second think it, just pick the first one that you think.
So 12 cards next
That was,
time.
that was a really nice thought too. Okay, if everybody would stand and join me in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it
they're
fair?
all concerned. Third,
Build goodwill and better friendships.
and fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks for coming today and we're adjourned.
If you get 3 times, join us. It's a lively